Hello everyone, welcome back to Unconditional Surrender, designed by Salvatore Vasta and published by GMT Games. This is a continuation of the Me, Myself, and I campaign. I'm Dren608, and we are now into March of 1940, and we'll just get started with the weather phase and see what's going to happen. We need to bring up the player aid card so we know what the numbers mean. And so, for the cold zone in March, it is a 2. Oops. I'm on the movement page. I need to be on the chart page here. And a 2 in March, April in the cold zone is still poor weather. In the mild zone, we get severe. Wow. That one takes away any chance of me going into Denmark. And for the warm, we get a 2, which actually makes it fair in the warm zone. So that is weather. On we go to declare war phase. Because of the severe weather, I can't take you up to this part of the map. Severe weather would pretty much prevent me from being able to take out Denmark because I can't get a decent set of attacks on it. So we're not going to bother. So this is going to be a fairly quick turn, I think. We go here to do our build points. Germany still has 28 for its 14 factories. Russia has 26 for its 13 factories. France still has 16, and Great Britain has 18. United Kingdom, I guess. And that is the economy phase. There is no strategic warfare phase yet. The Axis don't really... Oh, they need to take... Where's the faction card? I need to take this off this unit and put it in my card. And then just to... I don't really have anything else to move at the moment, so I'm going to skip out of that. I don't see anything for the West, and I don't see anything for the Soviets. Oh, there is one thing I do have to do for the Soviets. I did do a silly strategic move last turn, so I'm going to put that back into my pocket, so to speak. And that strategic movement phase. Operations for the Axis. There are none. They're just basically done. The Western faction, I don't see anything really to do for the Western faction either. They still have to put their sorties on their convoys. Oops. Boom. Sortie on a convoy. The Russian operations phase. They don't have Latvia or Estonia yet. And that seems to be pretty much the end of the Soviet operations phase as well. Now I'm going to do this. They should get 2 more armies at most. Finland's pro-Axis, so I'm going to activate this for a build point. And just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that takes care of the Soviet operations phase. There is no supply phases. Replacements, the Germans, I think, have some replacements here. They will spend 1 for, oops, wrong place. They will spend 1 and then 1, 2, 3 to get their aircraft back. Let's just delete that one. And they will flip this infantry unit to being full strength. So now I have the 1st Army, the 2nd Army, and the Nor Army all along the border of Denmark. If I can ever get some decent weather to try and do an attack, then I will. If I get poor in April, I may have to go ahead and try and at least attack into Denmark to try and get to Aalborg. But let's see what happens. So that takes care of their replacements. The Western British will spend their 6 to go ahead and clear these. And Soviets don't have any replacements. There are no upgrades. Is there anything to be mobilized? Nobody has anything in their mobilization boxes here, so there's no mobilization phase. We get to diplomacy. Taking a look at the diplomacy cup, there's a couple of political successes, a failure, and 2 areas seized. Not a very good chance for the Germans, but we're going to take the chance anyway and hope we get lucky. So we'll spend our 5. Commonwealth is going to spend 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they'll either put something back in the box or they'll put out, and Russia will definitely spend 5 as well for the same reason. So everybody's going to do something in diplomacy phase. That just saves me a little time down the road. The Germans are going to pull a chit. They got a political success. Now I could activate Italy, or no, I can use this political success. I am going to put a pro-axis marker back in Italy because they took it away from me last turn. I put it in there and the British promptly took it out. So now we move on to the Western faction. This is a bit of a quandary. There's 2 areas seized, a political failure, and only 1 political success, and 5 no events. So striving to maybe get the Soviets something good. Do I want to help the Soviets? Actually, as the British, I think I'm going to go ahead and pull a chit. And it is a no event. So that leaves us with the Soviet Union having to decide what it's going to do with its. With 2 areas seized markers, it's going to go ahead and pull as well, trying to get another one of those Baltic states. And they pulled a no event. And that ends the diplomacy phase. They have not conquered Germany yet, so the game moves on. We go to the end of turn phase, and there's absolutely nothing that happens when we go from March to April, because there's nothing to come in. So we are now in April. We will go ahead and roll the weather here for April and see where we get to. Now remember, this is one of the 3 months, April, June, and November, where the weather cannot be what it was before. In the cold zone, your 2 choices for March, April are poor or severe. Since there's only 2 choices, you go ahead and just put it in the other box. So it's in severe. In the mild zone, it can be poor or fair. So I have to roll 1, 2, or 3. So for the poor zone, or the mild zone, I can't have a 5. I can have a 3. So it goes to poor. And in the warm zone, it must be either poor or severe. I can't take a 1 or 2 in the warm zone. The warm zone is a 4. That is poor, so that's allowable. And that's the weather for April. Poor in the mild, poor in the warm, severe in cold zone. Okay. I really don't want to do it, but I think I'm going to have to declare war on these guys. That would be, at best I'll be +2, +3, -1. Best I'll be is a +2, and he will be a -1 if he uses one of his markers. It's not real good odds. Let's look at the combat results table before I declare war. If the best I can be looks like to be a +2 because of the weather in an assault, because I can only get 1 unit on there if they set up right at the border, which is the thing to do. So at best +2 would be like an 8. My worst would be a 3. And they will be -2, -1 if they use markers. The best they could be would be a 5. So if we both roll 6s, I make him retreat. If he rolls really low, I can knock him out 6, depending on his die roll. I have 6 possibilities out of 36 of getting him. And if I don't, if I just retreat him, well, he doesn't have anything to immediately go and defend the cities as the Western allies. What the heck? I want to see how these rules work. This is probably a bad thing to do. But I will declare war on the Netherlands. Or not the Netherlands, the Denmark. I'm declaring war on Denmark, not the Netherlands. Don't want to give them West invaded yet. So, bring up the national check. There it is. So, Denmark's willpower, I believe, starts at 2. So that goes into the Western faction 2. They only have 1 little factory, so they get a production point. And then they have this garrison. Now, normally in mobile attack, you see people like start here for some reason. I haven't quite figured out why. I've always thought that it doesn't really matter. If you go here in the poor weather, they can actually get an infantry unit here and an infantry unit here, which would give them an extra +1, and then they have another infantry unit that they can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. They can conquer Denmark if they can get rid of this unit. If you put it down here, the Germans can only assault with 1 unit because there's only 1 hex crossed. So especially with the poor weather, I'm going to put the Danes there. It's the better placement, I think. So, with that done, the other 2 can't declare war. There's an economy phase. I will have 28. Oh, he's still at 26. The British are at 18, and the French are at 16. So let's see how this works. That's the economy phase. There is no strategic warfare. I don't have any strategic movement, and neither do the West or the Soviets at this point. We're going to go into operations phase. So the Germans will place an assault marker from here. It's going into that hex. That's all I can really do. I have to spend a build point to activate that infantry unit and hope that I get a chance to make this actually work. The British have 2 ground supports. I'm going to go ahead and throw one in because stymieing them in Denmark is a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that here in the ocean next to it. So the Germans start off as +2 for German. They will add in an aircraft. There's a sortie. Because it is poor weather, the aircraft only adds 1. Okay. And then I have to subtract 1 because the new weather rules, I'm only allowed to do assaults in poor and severe weather conditions. And the minus in the poor condition, instead of being -2, is now only -1. So you get a little bit of advantage there, but you don't get quite as many attacks because it's an assault. It's a one-time. Assaults are all you're allowed to do. Trying to see how this works. So I'm -1, so that means I'm +2 as the German. The Danes started off at -2 because they're a reduced unit, but I threw in a ground support, so they're only -1. Whoops. Oh, not -3, -1. So we get to roll some dice here and see if the Germans can pull this off. I should mark that guy as activated, I suppose, since he's doing the assault. And the German die roll is a 2 + 2 is 4. How terrible. That means I cannot defeat him, so he will only retreat at the worst. And the Danes roll a 1 - 1 is still a 1. And if you look on the chart, a 4 to 1 is a DR. So the Danes have to retreat. I'm going to just move that assault mark over there. This guy will take the hex, just because he can. Then the Germans are going to spend another build point. They're going to try and do this again with the 2nd Infantry. Or, let me think about this for just a second. I need to do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nope. The armored unit's too far away to pull it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could run in with another infantry unit from here. I think I'm going to activate this infantry unit, see if I counted. Oh, not this infantry unit. Wrong infantry unit. Sorry. This one. We'll see if I counted right. So he goes 1, 2, 3. Let's see. 3, 4, 5. It's 5 to here, whether I go through the rail or it's because it's +2 for a canal. Or is it +1 for a canal? Now we have to go look at the player aid card, and we're going to look at the other side. I need to check my movement points for going across a canal. It's +1 for a canal. So let's go back down here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, clear terrain and a canal. 5. And then 6, 7 to assault that unit. And we will add another sortie. So we're back to the thing we were before. Oh, one thing I forgot to do. I should have done this before. I need to see when that comes back for the allies. And I rolled a 2, so on the turn track, this is going to come back 2 turns from now. It's currently April, so 1, 2, it'll be back in June for the Western Allies. And this time, it's a +2 to a -2. I don't know here. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the other one. Again, I'm just trying to delay the Germans from being able to pull this off. So I'm being a bit optimistic here with the British, or with the Western Allies. We're going to go ahead and throw in our other ground support. So it keeps us at the same thing we were at before. Oops, I keep doing that. So the Germans get to roll +2 on their die roll. 5 plus 2 is a 7. And the Danes subtract 1 from their die roll. So they are a 4. And a 7 to 4, again, is just a defender retreat. So he retreats to here, because that'll block movement here and through there. They go ahead and take the space. Now I could assault him again, but that won't get me anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. I mean, I could move the 2nd Infantry up, and I would be able to assault him at a +3. Oh, I have to do this. I have to see where this goes. This is the ground support marker. Rolls a 4. So comes in 4 turns from now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll be back in August. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I'm all in, so let's try this. We're going to activate the 2nd Army this time. Use 3 build points. And I go 1 because it's a rail line, 2, 3, 4. And this time they won't have anything extra to put in. I will throw in my aircraft again, really racking up the sorties on this. And now I'm +3, -1, so I'm still a +2, and he's a -2. So we'll see what we shall see. And the reason why I'm only +2 is because of the weather. The airplane only adds 1, and then I have to take away 1 for the weather. So just so people understand that. So now I'm assaulting that way. So the German attack is a 6 + 2 is an 8. Yeah, good die roll. And the Danes at -2. 5 is a 3. So we go check on the combat result table. An 8 to a 3, and I finally knock the unit off. Yay. So this goes technically into the eliminated box, but it's probably not going to matter at this point. Just put the assault marker out in the ocean someplace. I will go ahead and take the hex that I'm sitting on rail line so I can get back to where I need to be. Then I'm going to spend another build point to go ahead and activate the NOR unit. And it is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Toss 2 to take an enemy city. So I placed a control marker there. That makes the willpower of Denmark go to 0, and I control one of their cities, so they are conquered. Conquered country, one of the first things you do is you eliminate their units. so delete them from the scenario. The other poor thing that happens to the Germans, I'll just go ahead and do that while I have the cards open. I get another one of these conquered countries in there. The German willpower goes up by 2. And we should... that is still technically Western controlled. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. I can't get there to capture it this turn. So I'm kind of stuck there. Yeah, as you can see, Denmark took 4 units, 3 aircraft sorties, 3 units to actually destroy the defender, and then a 4th unit had to run in to capture Aalborg to actually get them conquered, make their will go down, because garrisons don't lower your will. That's one of the nice things about having those reduced units, is they won't lower your will if they die in combat. So that was a lot of expenditure to take out Denmark. Usually you get away with it with just 1, maybe 2 units. I had to use 4 to pull it off in the poor weather. So the poor weather does affect. It does make it possible to do things, but you definitely have to plan ahead. As you can see, I had 3 units right on the border, and I had to pull 1 from the Netherlands border to finish that whole fiasco to make it work. So, wow, right? Okay. That was March. Let's see, is there anything else I want to do? I think I'm going to go ahead and put this convoy marker up here in Aalborg. So that gets a sortie marker. And I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and move the aircraft, and its sorties are going to go up by 1. And then I'm just going to move this up into that space as well, because that's the next thing I'm going to have to try and do, is invade into Norway and try and conquer it. And that is my operations phase. I moved the sortie marker and I didn't move the airplane. Could have sworn it would have gone with it. Well, that's silly. Okay. So, that's that. That would be the German operations phase at this point. Oh, there's some other things I get here. I did conquer a country, so I get one of these things into my eliminated box. I did raise my will by 2. Right, so I'm up to 49 instead of 7. I did do this. Oh, I still have to do the political markers. I knew there was something I was missing. They get to execute a political, sort of a pseudo-political thing when they do conquest. Just to review the world, reviewing the conquest things. Remove their counters. Faction of the country puts a friendly pro marker in the cup. So, clone this. And I get to add a pro axis marker to the cup. So now for the Germans, there's 2 pluses in there. So that's something anyway. What was the next thing? Oh, and I also get to a neutral country that has no pro-faction and shares a land border. Or I can select any one neutral country that has an enemy pro-faction or strict neutrality capital and remove it. So I think we're going to go... The conquest of Denmark is going to make the British lose their pro-Spain. We're going to remove that marker. So, that was helpful. Keeps Spain from going over to the British at the moment. Yeah, that's the attack into Denmark. And the operations are done for the Germans. Everybody's on a rail line, so I'm in supply. The Western operations... there's a serious thought here. The Germans will march in there. They don't have anybody on a port. If I had a unit on a port, I mean, I could take 1, 2, 3. I can't even take the London militia because the BEF is out of position. Wanting them to hold Lille, I really don't want to give that up just to try and go drop a unit in Copenhagen and make the Germans attack it. Because sooner or later they would just, it would be isolated and they would just crush it. So I think it's really a waste of resources to try and do that. It is, however, April, and I'm worried about a possible clear turn next turn. It's like 50-50 or something on the weather chart. So the French Air Force is going to sally forth and try and add some sorties to the Germans. So its first attack will be on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can attack this one. So let's attack that hex first. Attack that airplane. Germans are +2. The French are +0. And so we just go ahead and roll a die. The French get a 2. The Germans get a 2 + 2 is a 4. So we go look at the combat results table. And it is a attacker 2 to a German 4. The French take 2 sorties. And the Germans take 1. I was hoping to get a 1-for-1 there. I'd be -2. The Germans would be +1. Best I can get is a 4. Worst they can get is a 2, so I could possibly get 2 sorties on them. I think I'll just let that go because I want to be able to rebuild them during my turn to full. So didn't work out like I wanted. You can all comment on my lack of strategic skill here with the French. I'm going to go ahead and stop at this point. Oops, not quite done. I have to do my due diligence. Putting a sortie here. Putting a sortie there. And then we'll go look at the Soviets. They're kind of stuck at the moment because they're looking to get something in Riga. It's the next one they need to capture. And Estonia is nice because it gives you extra factories and extra armies to put down, but Riga is the next one on the list to try and get. So the Soviets have no operations. There is no one out of supply. Replacements, yes, the Axis has a few things to do here. How much production points do they still have? They have a bunch. So 3 for the convoy here, 3 for the airplane there, that's 6, and 3 for this airplane. That's 9. That would take me down to 15, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, that would take me down to 15. Again, I'm just going to keep some sortie markers around here because they'll be used shortly, I'm sure. And that one just comes down to... Okay. I don't think I have any units that lost steps, so I'm pretty much done with the German replacements phase. The French will spend 3 to clear theirs. The British will spend 6 to clear their 2 sortie markers. And that's the Western. The Soviets don't have any sorties to clear or people to rebuild. Upgrades, we don't have any. Mobilization. I don't think... Nope, we don't have anything in the mobilization yet. That'll be next turn. We'll get some things possibly in the mobilization. So there's nothing to mobilize. We're back to diplomacy. Well, Germany now has possibility of 2 successes, 2 areas seized, 3 no events. And then there's 1 political failure. So, not the best odds in the world, but hey, I'm Germany. I'm bold. I'm proud. I'm rude. Whatever. We're going to pull from the cup and see what happens. And area seized. So Russia's very, very happy. Dancing around the streets of Riga. They're going to take Latvia. So they go to the faction card and go find the... I think that's the top one here. Yeah, that's Latvia. So they get that one. So they've gotten 5 out of their 6 countries here in less than a year. Doing very well. This is like the 3rd game the Russians have done this well. They get a unit out of their conditional box into their eliminated box. Their willpower goes up by 2. Where's their willpower? So they are now at 95. And their factories go up by 1. They now have as many as the Germans. They have 14 factories, just like the Germans do. And that is the whole area seized sequence. That was just the Axis diplomacy phase, too. So now it's the Western diplomacy phase. There's 2 political successes and a German one, so I can try and get back my Spain, or at least prevent Germany from having a preponderance of possible political successes. I could call a political failure, which could be somewhat disastrous, but not 100%. So the British will spend 5, 3, 4, 5, excuse me. And they will pull a chip. And they got the other area seized. So now the area seized cannot go back in the cup because the last area has been seized by the Russians. That's in the diplomacy rules. If you look it up, once all of the things have been seized, you can't put them back in the cup anymore. They're supposed to be removed from the scenario. So that's what I'm going to do right now. These are going to be deleted, so we can't accidentally put them back in the cup. Again, much dancing in the streets of Moscow and what's the capital of Estonia? Tallinn. I can't pronounce it right. So, more Russian armies into the eliminated box. The Russian willpower goes up 2 more to its maximum pre-war start of 97, and the Russians have more factories than the Germans now. They will have 30 build points a turn going forward. So, the Russians are as good as they can be. We get to the Soviet phase, and this is something that I learned by watching a playthrough and double-checked the rules and found out you're allowed to pick any counter that happens to be in the diplomacy box out here. So if the Russians pick a no event and put it back, then they must, if there's a no event left in the box, pick it. So they essentially put 2 no events in there to stack things against both the West and Germany. More against Germany as the Western Allies, I would just assume just not have Germany have a lot of allies so that I can, not have to worry about what I'm going to have to deal with. Makes it a little bit harder to try and pull in Italy at this point. So that's what the Soviets did with their 5 points. And so, they have not conquered me. We go to the end of the turn phase. We will be going into May. There's nothing. I don't believe there's anything in the. Yes, we just simply have to move these units into the mobilization box for these various countries. There's nothing coming in off the turn track going into May. So that's where we will stop. I'm going to close down these windows. We will start in May of 1940 when we return and see what the weather will be in May. Let's get you down to the logo area where I like to end and begin the game. So this has been another episode of Unconditional Surrender, the Me, Myself, and I campaign. This is Dren608 signing out, and we'll see you again next time when we'll start with May 1940, and maybe we'll even be allowed to do the invasion of France. Thanks, and bye.